My name is Ryan, I'm here for Optune. Today I'm going to talk about the future of live music in numbers. So, here we go with some statistics. Starting with the number 300. Within the past 15 years, revenue from the physical sales of music has decreased by over 80%, while the revenue from live music has increased by over 300%. So that's a really drastic shift in such a short period of time. Speaking about record sales, streaming now makes up over 75% of the total record industry revenues. So that's more than digital and physical sales and licensing deals as well. So I think that streaming is a key factor in the evolution and the rise of the live music industry. I think with so much access to new music and new artists every day, mostly through the streaming platforms, we're also having much more access to artist tour dates. So we're becoming more and more aware of artists being on the road all the time. Also, social media plays a huge role in the rising levels of live music, in that people are kind of yearning for more social experiences to balance what's happening online and what's happening offline. So when it comes down to it, we're trying to connect more with each other away from our phones and our computers. And to give you an idea of how many people are actually wanting to share these special moments together, last year in the US alone, over $43 billion was brought in by the live music industry. That's the highest it's been in 10 years. And to give you an idea what this number means, in 2018, just last year, that's the same amount, 43 billion, that was brought in by the global video game industry. And it's actually 2 billion more than was brought in by the box office ticket sales from the global film industry. So that gives you an idea of how big live music is right now. So, number 20. Over the last 20 years, the artist share of industry revenue has been between about 7% and 12%. So right now, it's on the higher end of that. And it shows you that the demand for concerts and live music events is growing, and hopefully that the money going into that is also going to reflect in the artists' pockets. Number 5. So when you think about that 12% of 43 billion US dollars, that gives 5 billion put into artist pockets. So that's not ideal, considering that there's $38 billion not going into artist pockets. But as I said, things are changing, and artists will start seeing more of that. Number 4. If we divide artists' incomes into 4 groups, so concerts, music platforms like streaming, music publishing, and music sales, both physical and digital sales, concerts have contributed the most to live music revenues in recent years. So the decrease in sales is leading artists and their teams to focus more on gaining more money from live performances. And they're not the only ones who are trying to gain more money from this new growing industry. It's also the big 3. So your big 3 labels, Sony, Vivendi, or Universal, and Warner Music, are also putting much more money and much more focus into promotion and venues and ticketing platforms in order to gain more money from the growing live music industry. Now, this is also very interesting because labels will increasingly invest more money into live performance, and also the artists that they'll want to sign will have to be really at the top of their game in order to compete, essentially. So it's artists competing with each other to create the biggest productions for their live shows, and also labels competing for those artists who are really coming up to the top. Not to scare you if you're an artist, but gotta work hard now. So, to summarize, the music industry is going through 2 profound changes right now. First of all, consumers, music consumers, are renting music rather than buying music. So that's what streaming is doing. And it's, as you can see, it's 75% now of what's happening. The second profound change is the demise of music sales is prompting artists to tour more often. So, if all of the artists are touring more often, that means that there's a greater competition for venues and competition to be noticed by labels and promoters and agents. And that means that everyone is bringing up their game in order to compete for consumers' money, essentially, and attention. So, that brings us to number one. So perhaps the number one driving force behind all of these trends and changes is technology. So artists and agents and labels and promoters and venues have to find new ways of presenting live music. The demand for much more highly produced concerts with amped up light shows and more special effects, virtual reality, holograms, is a reality now in this age that we live in. And so all of that takes growing technology. So, while we're developing new technologies for on-stage to make the shows better so that people are coming to them and wanting these special experiences and these moments, we also have to think about the technology that's being used backstage. And that's where this comes in. And this is not a zero, it's an O. This O stands for Optune. So Optune is a high-tech digital administration tool developed for artists and agents and promoters and location managers. And it's technology like Optune that's going to become a mainstay for those who work behind the scenes in the music business. There's a growing demand for innovative music, for innovative performances, for innovative ways of consuming these. And without a doubt, that's going to lead to a need for innovative software that can eliminate the inefficiencies in booking and organizing artists' performances. So while you're thinking about how to revolutionize your live performance on stage, you should also be thinking about the technology that's being developed just over here in Zurich that's going to help you revolutionize what's happening with your workflow backstage. So our website is optune.me, and you should check it out if you're an artist or an agent especially, and see what we have to offer.